Hi everyone, good and welcome to Harmless TV. Yes, my lovely people, this particular news is coming out from Lanka, whereby the whole citizens gather, yes, everybody gather together and struck the presidential house. There be small thing, my lovely people. That very day, wetin happen to their president when be Gotabaya and Ajapaska na yawa. My lovely people, according to this particular information, Sri Lankans have been suffering since their independence 1940 something, all in the name of government, economic, no money, no this one, no food, nothing. And the thing goes to the worst that makes Sri Lanka economy to be the lowest in the world. Yes. As you can see in this video, maybe small thing happen, my lovely people. Everybody, women or men or boys, children, they stormed their presidential house. There are some self that even went down to the swimming pool. They were swimming at the pool. Let me small again. And they gave us some many reasons why these Sri Lanka people got angry and took to the street, not only destroying something or maybe spoiling things for the street, because if they spoil anything, now they still get her. But they went direct to the presidential house to drive the president away from the presidential office. Yes. And as we dey talk, even the brother of the president, him himself, as the prime minister of the country, that one, he even quit in the month of May. You know, he quit. He withdrew and retired himself. He resigned himself for being prime minister. But the people of Sri Lanka never took it lightly. And this time now, the incident became worse because, as you can see it, they don't have fuel, no oil, no gas, no fertilizers for the agricultures, no food, nothing. And these people, the debt went there for their neck be small thing. I think there are some countries in Africa that need to do this thing. This is the needful to do. If the government said they can kill as much as they can, at least let them kill everybody now. Now Sri Lanka enter road. So I want to give you the point what led Sri Lankan citizens to act in this kind of manner. Number one is a depressive economy. Number two, they have a soaring inflation. Number three, lack of essentials. Number four, foreign debt. Number five, Indians helping hands. Number six, crippling Chinese debt. Number seven, IMF bailouts. Number eight, help from Russia. Number nine, protests take violent turn again. So, in all these details that I have written here, I just, in all these expressions that I've given here, I want to give the details, Let me quote down the details as of number one, a depressed economic. So, let's see what actually happened. And this is what led the country to be, scatterized everywhere, bombardized everywhere, scatterized. Sri Lanka say person want that make a kukuma die because make everybody kukuma die finish because the suffer is too much. So to say fisherman not get boat again to catch fish. Make una see the picture. Protesters blame Rajapaksa for the economic woes and have occupied the entrance to his office for 3 months. Sri Lanka is nearly bankrupt and has suspended repayment of $7 billion in foreign debt due to this year alone. Its foreign reserves are almost wiped out, and it is unable to import food, fuel, cooking gas, and medicines. So, here are the number one issue that caused this particular attack to the president. Number one is a depressed economic, because the island nation of 22 million people, just 22 million people, Sri Lanka, is grappling with its worst economic crisis since its independence in 1948, which has come from the confluence of the COVID-19 pandemic, battering the tourism reliant economic, raising oil prices, and the populist that cut by the populist tax cut by the government of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his brother Mihinda, who resigned as prime minister in May. So beside factors like heavily subsidized domestic prices of fuel and a decision to ban the import of chemical fertilizers, which devastated the agriculture sector, also added fuel to the fire. Now they don't ban importing of many things, including fertilizer. How crop won't they grow? Now agriculture people, now everything don't go down, because no food. If plants no grow, what will you eat? So that's when I add fuel to the fire when they burn already. Number two, soaring inflation. The biggest and most visible outcome of the crisis is the skyrocketing inflation in the island hit nation. Recent price hikes have dealt a severe blow to the South Asian country poor and vulnerable groups. The central bank has raised its key interest rates to their highest level in more than 20 years to try to contain inflation. The Sri Lanka rupee is currently the worst performing currency globally, depreciating to 362 against dollar. A recent UN report estimated that a record of 6 million Sri Lankans face food insecurity due to the soaring inflation. The central bank governor had warned that the present headline inflation in the country might increase to 70% in the coming months. Wow. Then number 3, lack of essentials. With the inflations of the chart, the people of the country are enduring a shortage of essentials such as food, fuel, cooking gas, and medicines. A lack of fuel to run power stations has resulted in extended daily power cuts. People have been forced to stand in days-long queues just to buy fuel and gas. Some even died waiting in line. The cash-strapped country earlier extended school closure for 1 week because there isn't enough fuel for teachers and parents to get children to classroom. What? Oof. The government also restricted supplies to essential services like trains, buses, and the healthcare sector. Ooh. While the government has ordered new fuel stocks, it is struggling to find $587 million to pay for it. The country currently owns about $800 million to 7 fuel suppliers. Now the government wants to import some other some fuels, but they are looking for money, $587 million to do that, to pay for that, for the fuel. And meanwhile, the government is also owing $800 million to 7 fuel suppliers. Now, let's go to number 4, which is foreign debt. With hardly any cash left, the Sri Lanka government announced in April that it is suspending the debt repayment of $7 billion due for this year out of about $25 billion due through 2026. It is foreign debt stands at $51 billion. The financial ministry says the country currently has only $25 million in usable foreign reserve. Wow, they are owing 51 million to foreign, but they have only usable for their foreign reserve, which is 25 million. Wow, problem. The millions of the Sri Lankans who are struggling to make ends meet squarely blame the Rajapaksa clan for the economic being in their stress. The protests have nearly dismantled the Rajapaksa political dynasty that has ruled the island country for most of the past 2 decades. Past 2 decades, which is almost 20 years, or past 20 years, sorry, except for the president. All others from the Rajapaksa family have quit the government one by one this year. The last to go was Basil Rajapaksa, Gotabaya's younger brother, who resigned as the finance minister in June. The removal of the Rajapaksa from public office was one of the main demands of the months-long protest over the economic crisis. While President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had admitted he did not take steps to head off the economic collapse early enough, he has refused to leave office. Moreover, it is nearly impossible to oust presidents under the constitution unless they resign on their own. Yes, impossible to drive them out or to tell them to go out unless they resign on their own, because the government will fight back. So now the people now have to take the power in their hands and moving all of them, because enough is enough. People are dying, people are suffering, so they cannot bear it anymore. They told the government has by themselves as millions as they are. So you see what happened? That is what some African countries deserve. Their presidency, their presidents, that is what they deserve in some African countries. Those that are making Africans to be suffering all this nonsense, because a lot of things that they mention here is also happening in Africa. So let them prepare, because this kind of thing will happen to them if they did not amend the situations of their citizens in their country. So let's continue to number 5, which is the Indians' helping hand. According to the news, with massive financial and material assistance, Indians have extended a generous helping hand to its neighbors in the midst of the crisis. So far, Indians has offered millions of dollars worth of rice, milk powder, medicines, and other humanitarian aids, as well as diesel, fuel, and gasoline. It has also extended Sri Lanka a $4 billion credit line on favorable teams that have been widely credited with helping the country crisis from worsening. India's active role in helping Sri Lanka during the crisis stands in contrast with the perceptions that Chinese loans contributed to the crisis in the first place. Aside from receiving the India's government assistance, Sri Lanka is also planning to tap Indian tourists to revive its better the tourism sectors and show up its depleted foreign exchange reserve. Authorities will hold road shows starting next month in 5 Indian cities to attract travelers seeking wellness, leisure, and Ramayana trails. Thus, corporate functions and destinations weddings, said Sri Lanka Tourist Minister Harin Fernando. Now, another one that they said is the Channel Bogalora and the Hyderabad, Mumbai, and New Delhi have been picked for the roadshow, Fernando said. So these cities are the place that will help them to do roadshow, so that people will now be coming to the country, as a tourist. So to assist them, still grow up their economy. Like they see all these states and the countries, all these countries like the new like Delhi, Mumbai, like Hyderabad, Bangalore, and what does it call? Chania. All these states have to come and assist them. The bankrupt nation is hoping to attract about 1 million tourists in this year 2022. Number 6 is crippling Chinese debt. China's Sri Lanka's third largest creditor after Japan and the Asian Development Bank has often been blamed by critics for exacerbating the crisis. It currently accounts for about 10% of the island's nation's debt. The South Asian island nation borrowed heavily to plug years of budget shortfalls and trade deficit, but squandered huge sums on ill-considered infrastructure projects, mostly part of China's Belt and Road Initiative that have further drained public finance. Infrastructure, you give government money for structure, the person no go see infrastructure. So many things that they collect credit, but at last they don't understand. So many of the white elephant projects that helped fuel the crisis now gathered dust in the Habatota district, home of the Rajapaksa clan. The counterpiece of the infrastructure drive was a deep seaport on the world's busiest east-west shipping lane, which was meant to spur industrial activities. Instead, it has hemorrhaged money from the moment it began operations. In 2017, a Chinese state-owned company was handed a 99-year lease for the seaport, a deal that sparked concern across the region that Beijing has secured a strategic toehold in the Indian Ocean. Overlooking the port is another Chinese-backed extravagance, a $15.5 million conference center that has been largely unused since it opened. Infrastructure. Oh God! So all this, so they built so many infrastructures of, but and not many. Some are not even bringing money home also. Because there are still reasons. Because infrastructures bring money. So if you did an infrastructure, you build a place, a project, and the thing is not bringing money, make sure that there is something wrong in the country that you have to correct first before business and money will be coming, before people will be coming to your country. He said for many Sri Lankans, the largely unused infrastructure projects have become potent symbols of the Rajapaksa clan mismanagement. Then we go to number 7, which is the IMF bailout. With the country's economy splurging, the government is hoping for a much-awaited $3 billion bailout package from the International Monetary Fund (IMF). Last week, Wickremesinghe Singh announced in Parliament that Sri Lanka would present a debt restructuring program to the IMF by August to secure a bailout package. He underlined that negotiations with the global lender were more complex and difficult than in the past because the country was bankrupt. However, continuous political and economic instability may derail the bailout plan. Then number 8 we have here, help from Russia. How does this affect Sri Lanka? Let's break it down. Now, immediately, please be patient. Even as Western countries have snubbed Russia over its invasion of Ukraine, Sri Lanka is looking to explore a beneficial relationship with the country to tie through the fuel crisis. Earlier this week, President Rajapaksa had a very productive conversation with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin to negotiate a credit line for purchasing discounted oil from Moscow to defeat the economic challenge faced by the island nation. During their conversation, Rajapaksa also urged Putin to restart the service of the Russian flag carrier Aeroflot to the country. In May, Sri Lanka purchased 90,000 tons of oil from Russia. Then, let's go to the last one that we have here. Protests take violent turn again, with the protesters finally breaching the presidential fortress. The country is likely to descend into further chaos and uncertainty. Insiders said the president was moved out of the house on Friday as the build-up to Saturday's protest was gathering. The man find he will. Protesters was defied the curfew, climbed the walls of the presidential house, the president's house, and are now occupying it without damaging any property or including in act of violence. They did not fight, so no violence, no destroying of properties, no scattering of anything, no touching of, no beating anybody. But what they just want is to occupy their country, take over their country, and help themselves out. So, videos posted on social media shows protesters storming the residence, chanting "Gota go home," calling the president by his nickname. Dozens were seen jumping into the pool, minding about the house and watching televisions. Outside the buildings, barricades were overturned and a black flag was hosted on the pool. From students to business leaders to leading cricketers, the protesters comprises the entire spectrum of the Lankan populace, which is dealing with the worst economic crisis in decades. So, my lovely people, this is what we have here, and this is the problem that caused all this presidential storming that makes Sri Lankans to storm their presidential house. So, make I use this particular moment to take advice some African presidents, those countries that their presidents are not doing enough to assist and to secure their citizens. Be warned, because this kind of thing might come to you. Okay, not everybody you will kill. If you see some group of people, you can take your guns, blow your water, blow your tear gas, throw everything. But now, when the whole country will come on, when the whole country gathered, even the police said that would have been pouring the tear gas and water, all of them will be together. That time, you will know that it is your right to make your country a better place. So thank you all, my lovely people, and remain blessed.